If I were to ask you who was the original lineup for Nirvana, what would you say? Maybe you would say Kurt, Dave, and Chris. Maybe you would say Kurt, Dave, Chris, and Pat Smear. But what if I told you the lineup was different back then? Now, for a fake fan, you'd be like, what? There was a different lineup? For a real fan, you know exactly what I'm talking about. That's right. Today we're talking about Nirvana's often forgotten guitarist, Jason Everman. I swear I didn't do that on purpose. Some people might not know this, but the original lineup for Nirvana was Chris, Kurt, Chad Channing, and Jason Everman. Of course, before Chad, they had a different drummer named Aaron, but I don't know anything about Aaron, and this video isn't about him. If you know Jason, you would know that he was also a member of Soundgarden before he was kicked out of that band too. So, while we're not asking why Jason was kicked out of Soundgarden, we are going to ask ourselves, why was Jason kicked out of Nirvana? For a little bit of background, Jason was a member of the band for mostly the first half of 1989, so like before their Bleach album, even though he did finance Bleach or whatever, but we're going to get into that later. And only managed to play on a single song, which was a cover of a Kiss song called Do You Love Me, which was part of an indie Kiss tribute album. Hard to believe, a Kiss covers compilation. Before he exited the band, and then of course he joined Soundgarden, and then left that group in 1990. During an interview with Booked on the Rock, Robert Boyd, the author of Before the Storm, The Formative Years of America's Last Great Band, he discussed Jason Everman and how two of his then Nirvana bandmates shockingly considered virtually abandoning him on tour. He financed Bleach, Boyd explained, transcribed by Ultimate Guitar, which is the website I'm reading off of. Bleach costed over a little, $600. No, $600. I'm doing math wrong. It's $600 for that album. Multiple days at the recording, and he financed that after he had kind of like entered the Nirvana universe. And Kurt thought, well, we could use the guitarist for touring, and he fit the bill. They didn't really know him that well. Chad knew him, but they were both from like Bainbridge Island, but Kurt and Chris didn't really know Jason that well. So things sound great so far, but of course they would end up becoming not so great, because it turned out that Nirvana's newest member was not working out both physically, well, not physically, but both personally and musically. They quickly learned that their personalities did not mesh once the tour began in the summer of '89. So they played throughout June and July and made it to New York. And Kurt and Chris had actually plans to just leave him there, which is horrible to even think about. They didn't want him in the band. They just wanted to flee in the night, and they thought better of it, but they canceled the remainder of the tour. They could just not deal with Jason Everman anymore. And I've seen some of the footage of shows from that summer, and he's very animated on stage, Boyd continued. A lot of headbanging, he's a metal guy. There's a few shows from that particular tour, but there's one show where he's actually diving off the stage. It might have been in New Jersey, and he assaults someone in the crowd, so it was those types of things that they didn't fit in with Nirvana that everyone knows and would eventually know. Now that isn't really the end of Jason's story, because, after that he would join Soundgarden. But what did he do after getting kicked out of Soundgarden? Well, Jason would actually receive a fair amount of media attention in recent years, when it became known that he would eventually serve in the US Army as an Army Ranger and Green Beret, including tours in both Iraq and Afghanistan. And that's really it for Jason's story. There's nothing really else to say about him. I don't think he's doing much these days. He's still kicking, but I don't think he's really doing much these days, so that's kind of where I wanted to end the video off. I just wanted to, do this video. Still, of course, working on Gilligan's Island, because of course I am. But, yeah, I'll see you guys all in the next video. We'll be talking about some scrapped movie sequels.